Hello, Time Traveler here. Welcome to my channel or welcome back. Today is December 29th and it's raining outside and I love the rain. I live in what I call the 7-acre wood, and it is 7 acres of old woods because all the trees are like 75, 85 feet tall, and they all are growing straight up towards the sun, trying to get that sunlight, so there's no real branching out. So I love walking in the woods right after a rain. It's my favorite time. I think it's less dusty. I think I might be inclined to be interested in looking for mushrooms, and which is something I haven't really done here that much, but you know, there's still time, I hope. And so I hope you'll join me today while I do something that I love to do usually on a Sunday afternoon, and that is make focaccia bread. I love bread. Bread doesn't always love me back, but I love bread. I'm very fond of sourdough, and I'm very fond of the focaccia bread that I learned how to make this year. And one of the great things about the focaccia bread that I learned when I was in Tuscany making pasta is that as a person on the spectrum with ADHD, the feeling of dough stuck to my fingers freaks me the hell out. So all I can think of is I want to get it off. I want to get it off my hands. I need to scrape it all off. So the beauty of focaccia bread is there is no real kneading. Your hands are coated in olive oil, and the dough doesn't really stick to your hands, and so I appreciate that. And I have found a favorite recipe, which is olives and fresh rosemary. And so those are two of the things that we're going to include today in the focaccia bread. I tried once some oven roasted garlic, and it wasn't my favorite. It was really beautiful, but it just wasn't doing it for me. But this has been a favorite, and it's been the one thing that I have made regularly since I found it. I will be going off a recipe because I forget things. I leave things out. God bless being on the spectrum and ADHD. I need a recipe so I can mark each step and make sure that I don't forget anything. And I got my flour. My flour is a 00. It's a soft flour. I believe it's labeled a pizza flour. It comes from Italy. I ordered it off of Amazon. I'm big on having Italian ingredients in the Italian cooking that I do here in my kitchen. And so you can order pretty much what you want off Amazon. You may pay more, but who wants to eat grits from South Carolina when you can have polenta Italian style? It's wonderful. And earlier in the summer, I'm sorry, I'm wiggling around. My tripod doesn't go any higher, so I'm having to slump up against the sink. Anyway, early in the summer, I had some teeth pulled, and I had 4 bone grafts in preparation for bridge implants on both sides of my lower jaw, and I had 21 zirconium crowns put in. I knew it was coming. I waited until I had to do it, and I did it. And so one of the things I learned was polenta is a wonderful thing you can eat without teeth. I ate a lot of polenta, a lot of sweet potatoes, a lot of cottage cheese. I couldn't eat rice because I can't swallow food I haven't chewed in that way. And so anyway, this is one of my favorite things that I could actually eat before I had the partial that I'm wearing until I get my final bridges in. And so it's soft, it's warm, it's beautiful, and I just wanted to share that with you today. So let's get started. So first of all, every day, I took an herbalist course, and it was through the School of the Sacred Wild, and I really enjoyed it. The main thing that I enjoyed about it was learning the teas, the different nourishing herbs that created a sense of well-being within my body. And what I learned along the way is that this beautiful tea, which you can't really see it, it's all in the bottom, and you make it the night before and you let it sit out on the counter overnight, and then in the morning you strain it and drink it on an empty stomach. So every morning I drink a quart of either oat straw or the burdock root, which I have over here, and then I take the remains and I take it out to the chickens. So in here there's some reishi mushroom bits, it looks kind of gross, and some of the burdock root, and then I'm going to be adding the rest of this oat straw in. So I strain it off with this wonderful, wonderful mason jar fitting straining lid. The beauty of this oat straw tea for me personally is that as somebody on the spectrum with ADHD, the minute the lights go out, my brain switches on and just goes into overdrive and thinks about everything that happened that day and the things I got to do tomorrow and the things I forgot to do, and it makes sleeping really difficult. So I got a Kindle Unlimited subscription, so I read now to kind of remove all the garbage from my brain. And I've been drinking this tea. You know, each month we would pick a different herb. We got 4 herbs in the mail, and we would pick a different herb to work with. And I really, really, really enjoyed that process. So, through the process, I learned that drinking oat straw tea let me go to sleep, kept me asleep. When I got up to use the restroom, I went right back to sleep. And so literally pretty much this entire year, every morning without fail, I get up and drink a quart of this oat straw tea. Now, one of the other things that I really, really love in the warmer part of the year is this burdock root. And this is just, I don't know, I really, really enjoy it. It's good for the liver. It's good for detoxifying the blood. It smells good. It tastes good. And so I've been doing that in the mornings, and in the afternoons when I get thirsty, 3, 4 o'clock, then I have this nice tea that I can drink that's good for me, that still provides the help with sleeping. So both the burdock and the oat straw tea have been instrumental in helping me to be able to get a better night's sleep. So let's see what's next. Okay, so down here I have a stainless steel mixing bowl with a little dish washing liquid in it. And I run a little warm water because it's a quick hand wash that gets the oil off of my fingers while I'm doing the rest of it, instead of having to stop and get oil all over the faucet and everything else. I have my kitchen hand towels that I wipe up messes with and dry my hands when they're not going into the food. And then I believe you saw over here, I have this brand new clean tea towel. And that's what I wash my hands, that's what I dry my hands after I wash them. I dry them off with this. It's not been used for anything other than while I'm making bread. So, these are my mixing bowls, which I absolutely love. And we're going to start with measuring out the yeast, the salt, and the sugar. Now I know I'm supposed to do the salt in a different order than what they have here, but I'm not gonna, because that's the kind of girl I am. I do it the way that makes sense for me. So, how many of you have ever tasted focaccia bread or tried to make it on your own? This is my first experience with a yeast bread ever. And I used to be terrified of yeast. I don't know why. I couldn't tell you why, but I used to be terrified of yeast. Today, that is hilarious to me. It makes me laugh. So, I'm going to try and get this. I don't have all the right equipment. You're not going to be able to look down in my bowl. I wish I had all the really cool stuff. I'm using my iPhone and a tripod, and that's what we have. So we have a teaspoon of salt, or a teaspoon of yeast, a teaspoon of sea salt, and a teaspoon of sugar to feed the yeast. When I was in high school, they made you take home ec class. And so the very first home ec class, nobody cleaned up as they went. And it was right before lunch, and the bell rang, and the teacher's like, yeah, you got to clean up all this stuff before you can leave. So I cleaned and I cleaned and I got everything squared away and organized. And then I went and got in line at lunch to find that there was no food left. And I was really disappointed. You know, at least a burrito, anything. So the lesson that I learned that day was I clean as I go along. And it may take me longer to cook, but when I'm done, I'm done. And there's no going back and cleaning up a mess. I just do it as I go. So that's what you're going to see me stopping and doing. Need to get a little water in this bowl for my hands when I go to turn the dough, and a bowl for measuring the flour. So let me see how warm that is. It's not warm at all. Let me warm up some water a little bit here. So a lot of people talk about they don't like cooking because they don't want to clean up afterwards. And I just always cleaned up as I went. And it made it fun. Then I didn't miss lunch. I got to eat in the home ec class, and then I got to go get in line at lunch and eat with my friends. So it was a win-win. Okay. So, we're going to put in 250 ml of warm water, and that's hot, so oops. And that helps dissolve the salt and the sugar and the yeast. Maybe a little bit more. All right, so I'm taking the salt and the yeast and the sugar, I'm putting it in the bottom of the bowl. And I'm pouring in the warm water. And I'm getting one of my favorite little whisks that helps mix everything up really well. You mix all of this until the salt and sugar are dissolved and the yeast. I love having these clear mixing bowls because I was trying to use the stainless steel ones, and every time I tried to pick the dough up, the bowl was flying all over the counter, and it was really frustrating. So I got this set of mixing bowls. I like this because I can look underneath here, look at the bottom of it through the light, and see if it's all dissolved or not. Doesn't take very long. Okay. Now I have this great big container of flour, soft wheat flour, Foccacia. And I'm going to take 300 grams. Let me make sure this is on the right. Yep, it's on grams. Okay. So there's one. There's two. Grams. Okay, yeast, water, flour, salt. Okay. We're going to dump the flour in the bowl. And I have all these really cool wooden spoons, but I have this one that's just like plain old wooden spoon that you'd buy at the grocery store. It reminds me of the one my mother used. And it's pretty much the only one that I use. I've got some beautiful olive wood spoons and spatulas and different things. And I don't know, I just like looking at them. I don't know, I have this thing about olive wood. When I was in Tuscany in May, right after they trimmed the olive trees, I was able to bring a branch back home with me and make a really cool art project of sorts. And she is absolutely beautiful. And it was like something that popped into my head before the trip, and then I was like, oh, I know, I understand why I'm going now. And it wasn't for a yoga retreat, and it wasn't to commune with other like-minded individuals. It was to pick up this olive branch that has become a daily part of my life. Okay, now I've got dough stuck to my fingers, so let me dip them in the water here. Okay. Now then, we're going to take, 20 grams of olive oil. Put this back in this jar. I'm always afraid I'll lose the label to what I've ordered and then I won't be able to find it again, but not every time does Amazon keep all your purchases in a list for you. Okay, so we got 20 grams of olive oil. And there we go, 21. Aw, a little more olive oil than necessary. And you just pour that over this dough. After you mix the dough and the yeast and the salt and the sugar, and you incorporate it all together, and I always take the olive oil, instead of wasting it or washing it off, I rub it into my skin because it's beautiful and it feels good and it's not wasteful. And I like being not wasteful. All right, now we're gonna smush this around with the wooden spoon until it's all incorporated. And then we're going to cover it and set a timer and let it rest. As soon as I get it all mixed up in here. You'll have to excuse me clearing my throat. I got sat next to a woman on a plane coming back from Rome who coughed and hacked. You've probably seen on one of my other earlier little short videos. Coughed and hacked the entire 9 hours of the flight. I should have put on a mask immediately, but I did not. And anyway, needless to say, I came home with this horrible cough that turned into a honking goose cough. That's what my mother called it. And I'm still kind of weird. So, pardon me. All right. This is the coolest thing. I absolutely love this. This is a silicone cover, and I absolutely love it. Once I figured out how to use it, you can't touch the sides of the bowl with wet fingers or oily fingers, or the thing won't stick. So, all right, there's that. And I'm going to take this because I always take one of these and cover it up. And now I'm going to clean up a little bit as I go. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to take you out and show you what I do with the chickens. Oops. All right, it's going to be weird for me to get used to holding the phone this way. I know that that's how to record properly. We're going to go out. Look at my messy porch. My green. In a little while, we're going to come out. We're going to trim some of this rosemary so it'll be fresh. This is where, as soon as I fill it up with leaves and branches and things, and then some soil on top of that, because it's right off my kitchen, it's where I'm going to have my kitchen garden. And you'll pardon the leaves, the tree just seems to have thrown their clothes off everywhere. It's like a teenager. Hey girls. Hey girls. Hi. These are my chickie doodles. We have Freya, the gray one, right there. And Lilith is the black one over there. And then we have these three that look exactly alike, but the one with the dark crop is named Bronwyn. And the one who seems to have lost her crop is named Artemis. And I'm not sure what this other one, they're really hard to tell apart because they kind of look the same. So I'm going to throw some chicken snacks out for them and see how they like it. Whoosh it around in here and get it all suspended in the liquid, and there you go, girls. There you go. There's oats, there's burdock root, there's reishi mushroom, and they're like, where's our sweet potato, Mama? I'll get it for you in a little bit. Okay, we're back after a 20-minute rest. I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to take the cover off. Oops, let me turn the timer off. Here we go. All right, so got a little bowl here with some water that I'm going to get my fingers in the water. And we're going to turn the dough. I'm going to pull it up, poke it back down, and turn the bowl a quarter of a turn. Pick it up, poke it back down, turn the bowl a quarter of a turn. Pick it up, a little bit more resistance this time. Poke it back down, turn the bowl a quarter of a turn. I'm going to get my other hand wet this time. I'm going to let it kind of use its weight to bring it over. Put it all together. And then I'm going to cover it for another 30 minutes. Okay, and we're back for our second folding. And I'm going to get water on my hands. I'm going to grab it, pull it up, bring it down to the other side, and tuck it in. Turn your bowl 1/4 of a turn. Grab the dough, lift it up, stretch it across, and tuck it in. And all of this creates air and makes your dough nice and light. Always, it gets tougher after the first 2 turns. So I like to have a second hand involved to hold it all the way up so that I'm not putting my fingers through it, and kind of use the weight of it to get it to come across. We're going to tuck it into a nice little circle here, rub the oil on the back of my hands, and we'll be back in 30 minutes. All right, we're back for the third fold. Getting close. Alrighty, get my hands in the water, grab the dough, look at it stretch, drop it down the other side, 1/4 turn of the bowl, grab it up, let it stretch, tuck it in, and I didn't turn off my alarm. And one last turn. You can see the bubbles here in the top. Okay. All right, give me a second. Timer off while I slip over here and wash my hands. Make sure that there's no moisture on the rim of the bowl so that my lid will stay. I sure do like these silicone covers. The saran wrap's never big enough. All right, so that's the third fold. Now, at this point, you can take this, stick it in the fridge overnight, and bake it tomorrow. As you've seen, there's only like, there'll be 4 turns, but they're like 5 minutes. So yeah, you've got to kind of be close by and babysit it, but you're not working on it all that entire time. So there is one more folding after this one in 30 minutes. And then we're going to put it in the pan and get it all ready. And you can come out with me to collect some rosemary. And we'll get the olives together and get it all in there. You know, the coolest part is taking your fingers and jiggling the little holes in it. That's fun. I enjoy that part a lot. So we'll be right back. Okay, I've got about 4 minutes left. So I'm going to take the lid off of some reishi tea that I made last night. You can see the mushroom slices that come from Mountain Rose Herbs. No, they are not a sponsor. And this is the first batch, which is fairly amber. And I'll only pour a 1/2 cup. And then I top it off with some water and I microwave it. Reishi is an excellent anti-inflammatory. Oh, not much water left in that kettle. Let me grab some from the sink. So reishi is an excellent anti-inflammatory. And it's good for your muscles and your joints and anything that aches. I had hip replacement a year ago last July, and it's done absolutely fantastic, but I have really appreciated the help that I get. You know, at this age, got a little arthritis going on and some other things, and so it's nice to have something that helps take that away. So I'm going to go heat that right now and sip on it while I'm waiting for the timer. All right, now we're here for the last fold. If you put your dough in the refrigerator overnight so that you can bake it the next day, you're going to take it out of the fridge and you're going to set it out on the counter. And I apologize, you can look these things up on Google. They're all fairly much the same thing, but I'm not going to post a recipe down here because that's just outside my wheelhouse at this point in time. But anyway, so if you left it in the fridge overnight, 17 hours, I believe, is the length of time that you can actually park it there. So the next morning you would remove it, set it on the counter for 20 minutes and let it cool or warm up, I guess you should say. And we're just going to pretend that that's what we did. And we're going to do the folding process one more time. Okay. Grab and stretch and fold it down, tuck it in. Turn the bowl a quarter turn. Grab and stretch. You can see it's just getting harder and harder to stretch as it gets closer to being time to do it, to put it in the pan and let it rest for its final 2 hours. Come on. You got this. Let go, baby. And one last stretch. It's so slow, but it's a beautiful thing because it doesn't stick to my fingers, and so I really enjoy the making of this bread. All right, so I'm tucking it all in. Now I'm going to add olive oil to this pan here. Good, generous amount of olive oil. Make sure that all the bottom is covered and all the sides are covered because it will stretch, it will fill up this entire pan and bulge out above the top. Trust me. All right, now I'm going to put the dough in, like so. You can tell my countertops aren't level. Thank you, home builder. I didn't really mean that. And we're going to leave that just like that. Of course, I like to cover it up with this. Don't know if it makes any difference, but it makes me feel fancy. And I like feeling fancy. And so now I'm going to clean up some of the mess here because this has to set now for 2 hours. And I've got some other things to get ready because when I bake this bread, I generally bake these little petite sweet potatoes right before I put the bread in the oven. That way the oven's really good and hot, and then I only have to heat it once. So I've got some preparations to do, and I will be on that and be right back with you. Okay, so these are 2 sweet potatoes, which I have quartered, and they will make me 8 meals for the next 8 days. That way I can have one of these and then a salad and then whatever pasta dish or polenta or whatever I like. I did want to say, this occurred to me yesterday, there are 2 things that I absolutely cannot live without. And one of them is my mocha pot. This is from Walmart. And it is called Joy Jolt, and it says it holds 6 cups. Now that would of course be 6 Italian cups of coffee, but for me it makes the absolute perfect mug. The other thing I couldn't live without is my mason jars. They make the perfect apothecary jars. See, I have reishi slices, burdock root, mullein for when I was coughing, and this with the rosebuds on top is called Cleansing and Clearing, Emotional Clearing Tea. And I've got some schizandra berries. I don't think I'm saying that right. But anyway, I've got bunches of oat straw because that's some good stuff, I'm just going to tell you. And then I've got rosebuds that I like to drop in my tea. I've got chickpea flour for making farinata. And then I have cinnamon sticks. Then if you come with me into my laundry room, where I have this beautiful, huge cabinet. Let me turn on a light so you can see. These are all my herbs. And they are all in here. You can see the reishi slices. I think they're so beautiful. They're so fascinating looking. But they're all alphabetized. And these were the herbs that I got 4 herbs a month for the year that I took the herbal apprenticeship course. And then I have smaller bottles because some of them that I got weren't big enough, so I got them in pint jars, alphabetized of course. And then the things that I use a lot of, I've got some kaffir lime leaves because I'm excited to try a new tea, and some red rooibos. And this looks like nettles. Got some calendula, I've got some chamomile back in the back, but I've got quite a few half-gallon jars of herbs. Over here I've got pine oil that I harvested fresh pine leaves and macerated them lightly in a blender and then soaked them in olive oil for about 8 weeks. And it makes a wonderful bath. I've got a hair rinse going on there. I've got tons of organic raw honey and all of the powdered herbs back here to make electuaries. And I make electuaries, which are, I liken them to having a multivitamin, only without having to choke down a capsule. And of course, what herbal apothecary would be complete without some black salt, which I have in all of my windows for protection. So that is my apothecary. Parts of it, it's kind of scattered all over. And this is my big, beautiful kitchen. And one more thing to share real quick here. This is an orchid that my son gave me in 2017 for my 60th birthday. And it's in the same pot that it came in. And this one, and this other one that you can see the bloom spike there that I rescued from a woman who didn't know how to care for her orchids. And this one from the same woman, got another bloom spike that didn't know how to take care of her orchids. And the latest in my acquisitions of Phalaenopsis, which are my absolute favorite orchids, because I like the leaves, the great big thick leathery strappy leaves. And this one came from my eye doctor's office, and I'd literally been asking them, without asking them, to please let me take it home for about 2 years. And my dear friend Serena came with it last week, and she said, well, they finally decided somebody was going to throw it away, and they're like, no, give it to Serena. She can take it home to her friend. So I have a new baby in the window, and I'm very, very excited to welcome her to our home. So I got all the sweet potatoes ready to go. They're going to go in the oven, and just as soon as the oven heats up, and we'll get back to getting everything else ready. See you in a bit. Okay, we're going to cut a little bit of rosemary and get them ready to go on the bread as soon as it's time to put the bread in the oven. So I'm going to flip this around and show you my little garden. Okay, where do I want to clip? We're going to clip there, and we're going to clip there, and we're going to clip there. So I got this one, and I got that one, and I got that one. It's not a whole lot, but you don't really need a whole lot. God, it smells so good. Okay, so now I'm going to pull these off and put them in this bowl. I have this bowl of olives right here, and they are coated with olive oil to keep them from burning when I'm baking. And this just makes this taste so amazing to have this fresh rosemary. You know, they say rosemary for remembrance. It's really good. I'm an aromatherapist, have been for nearly 30 years. It's really good. I used to get up every morning and I used to rub it on my brain stem, on the back of my neck. And it just seemed to really help. doTERRA has a product, and doTERRA's not sponsoring me, but doTERRA has a product called In Tune, and it's for ADHD, and I always found it extremely helpful. But then I moved, and I just haven't. There's a place that's an hour from here that I can go get some at, but I don't want to pay the membership fee to order one product. So we pull all of these off, and then here in a few minutes, when everything comes out and is ready to be jiggled, that's the most fun part, is sticking your fingers in the dough and wiggling them around and making the little holes. So again, I put a little olive oil on that so that they don't totally burn when they're on top of the bread. Take the leftover, because now I'm going to smell like olive oil and rosemary, and rub it all over my hands. And in a minute, when the 2 hours is up, I'll come back and we'll put this together. All right, are we on? Yes, we're on. Excellent. Okay, I gotta wash. Sorry. And I'm going to use my clean hand towel for my clean hands that I'm going to be digging in my bread with. So we're going to uncover this for the last time. Look how big it's gotten. You got to do it slowly so that it releases. You can see, look at the bubbles in it. This is so much fun. And we're going to add a little bit of olive oil to the top. We've got my oven on at 450. All right, now I'm going to put olive oil all over my fingers. And what we're going to do here now is we're going to make the holes in it. I just love doing that. Now I'm going to plop olives down in it all over the place because they are lovely in focaccia bread. And I like to push them down in there really good so that they don't fall out. Sometimes if the olives aren't down in there really good, then when you slice it, they'll fall out. Sometimes they fall out anyway, but I like to anchor them in a little bit better. And these have olive oil on them so that the olives don't burn while they're baking, because again, it's a very hot oven. It's 450 degrees, and it's for 30 minutes. And I played with this recipe quite a bit until I got it the perfect brownness, the perfect everything for it. Okay, now we're going to take the rosemaries, little bits here and there, and I poke them down in a hole. If you was in Tennessee, you'd say poke them down in a holler. I've been watching some Tennessee TV lately, thinking about a business there that I love, that I'd love to go visit. So holler is an appropriate word for, that's where you drop down into and lose your phone reception, is when you get down into a holler. Sometimes they don't come off your finger. This is a very nice soft bread. I think I mentioned before. Easy to eat if you have trouble chewing things. It's not a hard, crusty bread like some sourdoughs can be, where, you know, the crust is tough to bite through or to chew. And it's just, this has become, like, I wake up on Sunday mornings and go, oh, it's time to make focaccia bread. And especially on a rainy day, it makes it all the more better for me. Okay. Now I smell good and my skin's going to be beautiful. The only thing that's unfortunate about this is that if I touch my face with it, everywhere I touch my face will break out in the most obnoxious of pimples. I make my own body washes and soaps and shampoos and different things, and have had since 2014. When I received a diagnosis and a subsequent mastectomy, I started making all of my own skincare products myself. So now we're going to stick this into the oven. You can see my sweet potatoes over here. Set the timer. 30 minutes. And there we go. All right, we'll be back when it's out of the oven. All right, the timer has just gone off. We're going to pull this out of the oven. Turn this off. Oh, look how pretty. Oh my goodness. Isn't that absolutely divine? Beautiful, beautiful. Oven, I'm going to leave the door open and let it heat the house. I'm going to let this cool off for a few minutes, and then I'm going to come slice it, and then I'm going to have my dinner. Be right back. All right. I'm going to give it a slice. You can hear how crispy it is. Still pretty hot. I didn't let it cool off as much as I like it to. Ow. Obviously, I didn't let it cool off. All right. Now I'm going to point this camera down if I can. That's a terrible shot. Give me a second. Okay, and here's my beautiful dinner. It's this beautiful, soft, wonderful focaccia bread. See the olives down inside of it. I got myself a sweet potato with a little bit of salt and butter and a cup of reishi tea. And these are my creations for the afternoon. Absolutely wonderful. I love to batch cook on a Sunday afternoon, and it pretty much makes my meals for the week, and I really enjoy it. Ooh, there's my kitty cat vacuum cleaner that I have, that sometimes the cats set off in there by the litter box. I want to thank you for coming. I appreciate you hanging out with me on this day to observe my magic, my kitchen magic. I appreciate it. I hope you'll continue to join me. If you enjoyed this video, if you have any questions about it, leave it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I would appreciate it if you would like, comment, subscribe, and share. It helps me grow my channel. And I have lots more to share, and I would love for you to come along with me. So I'm going to go have my dinner now, and I will say ciao for now and buon appetito. Bye.